Welcome to Dubai Property Guide. This is Faizan. In today's video, we're going to talk about a question which is one of the most frequently asked questions by investors as well as end users. And it relates to everyone who's willing to buy property in Dubai, be it local living over here or be it an expat investing from UK, India, Pakistan, or wherever they're investing from, which is what is the difference between an off-plan property and a ready property and where one should invest. Both of these options have their own unique advantages. So it is very hard to say that one should invest in an off-plan or a ready property because it primarily boils down to your own personal choice and your own personal goal from the investment. So let's go to the first part. What is an off-plan property? As most of you would already know, for those who don't, off-plan property is a property which is not yet constructed by the developer. So all the top developers in Dubai, be it Emaar, be it Dubai Properties, Meraas, Nakheel, Shobha, everyone, Damac, every one of these developers offers off-plan properties, which basically means that they would announce a project today which would be completed in 2027, 2028, and now we're sitting at the end of 2024. So basically, there are some properties which will be available in 2029. So that basically means that they're giving you 4 to 5 years to plan your finances. You can get a property on a payment plan, you can book a property varying from 10% to 15%, and it goes up to 20%. And then there are different plans which you have to follow, varying from a developer to developer, where you have to fulfill the payments, and then there is a certain payment that has to be made on once the property is handed over. So that can be 20%, that can be 30%, that can even be in some cases 50%. So what off-plan properties do for you is that they would give you a financial comfort, and plus over a period of time you would get into that community at an entry level which is going to be extremely beneficial for you. Now this is an extremely important part which everyone should understand. So for example, let's talk about The Valley, which is a community by Emaar, and it started off 4 to 5 years ago or even more. It is a master community. Once it started off, they started offering townhouses and villas, and the entry point for a 3-bedroom or a 4-bedroom townhouse was 1.5, if I can recall it, 1.5 or 1.6. Today, the entry point in the same community for a 3-bedroom townhouse is around 2.93, 2.94. So you see the capital appreciation that has gone into it. So anyone who bought the property back when the community started and they bought it for 1.5 or 1.6, today they're selling their ready property for 2.4 or 2.5. So this is the capital appreciation that you get over a period of 3 to 4 years, where you've actually divided your payments in 4 years, plus you've made good money out of your investment. As I mentioned earlier, it depends upon why you're investing when you're investing to buy property in Dubai. Another advantage, and a very important advantage, is that some of the developers offer a very high return on investment when you're investing in an off-plan property. And I'll give you an example when I say this. For example, one of the developers is offering you an 8% ROI up till the handover. So if you pay 100% of the amount today and you book a property with them, up till the handover, which is in 2028, you're going to get 8% each year. That is 24% of return that you're getting on your investment, even before the property is handed over to you. Once it is handed over, you can rent it out, you can use it, or as I mentioned earlier, you can sell it at a higher value because the community itself and the building itself would be established, would be developed, there would be people living over there or people would be moving in there. So you have an advantage of basically selling it at a higher price. Benefits, if I summarize them for you, are you will have a lower entry point or a lower cost at which you can book a property, which is 10% or 20% plus 4% of DLD charges. You can phase your payments, and at the end of the day, you can get a higher capital gain on this investment. There are certain risks involved as well. There used to be more risks in the past, but now it would only be fair to tell you as to what the risks are. And this is something that I highly recommend to all my clients, which is always invest in the developer. with all due respect, I'm not against any of the smaller developers in Dubai, but what is important is that for anyone who's investing for the first time, it is very important for you to see the developer's profile. And what I mean by that is that invest with top developers like Emaar, like DAMAC, Shobha Realty. These are all reputable developers which are available in Dubai, and they have very good projects that are going on. So what that does is that you would get your project on time, the project would be delivered, and the quality would be much higher because they have a certain brand value to maintain for their clients. The second point that we want to highlight, we've already talked about off-plan properties, and the second option that is available to, of course, all the investors and end users is ready properties. So as the name suggests, ready property is a property which is ready for you to move in. It is already done, it is completed, and it is available for immediate occupancy. And the benefits are, of course, you can immediately move in. That's the benefit number one. Number two is you can immediately rent it out. So you can start getting rental income there and then. And number three is what you see is what you get. So there is a risk involved is comparatively lower as compared to an off-plan investment. And there are some cons as well. Number one, which is most important to the investors especially, is there is a very high upfront cost. So as I mentioned earlier, an off-plan property, you might get it for 1.5 or 1.6 million. By the time it is ready, its price would have appreciated to 2.2 or even 2.4 or 2.5. So that is almost 100% increase in cost that you would have to pay. Number two, there is a potential competition in the market when it comes to renting it out, because the property is already ready and occupants have already moved in, maybe nearby into areas. So there would be much more competition when it comes to renting out that particular property to the people. So financially, if you compare off-plan properties with ready properties, as I mentioned earlier, in an off-plan property, you would get a flexible payment plan, which is spread across the construction phases. It requires a lower down payment, and ready properties, on the other hand, would require a higher upfront payment, but that can then lead to an option where you can basically mortgage it from the bank, and that of course has its own terms and conditions, and it especially becomes difficult for people who are not living in UAE to get bank financing for their ready properties. So now that we've covered both off-plan and ready properties, what is important is what are the key considerations if you have to choose an off-plan or a ready property, because at the end of the day, it is property that you are buying. So when it comes to an off-plan property, there are a couple of things that you need to keep in mind. Number one, it's the payment plan that the developer is offering you, and does that fit your own budget? At the end of the day, it is you who has to pay. It is not the developer, it is not the broker, it is not anyone else. So you have to decide as to what basically fits your bill, be it an off-plan property with a 30-70 payment plan, a 50-50 payment plan, 80-20 payment plan, and then you have to do a future planning for the next 3 to 4 years as to how you're going to divide it with your income. With a ready property, you have to pay a very high upfront cost, but the benefit is that you can get an immediate return, because either you can immediately sell it off or you can immediately put it out for rent. But again, it comes down to the fact that if you're ready to pay that higher appreciated upfront cost. So basically, this brings me to the end of my video. The whole goal of this video was to brief you about what an off-plan property is, what a ready property is, what are the pros and cons of both, and while you're making this decision to invest in UAE or in Dubai, how you should go about it, how you should choose it. There are other things involved as well, which we would continue to highlight in our future videos. If there are any questions, you can see my number, or you can see the contact details at the end of this video. Do drop in a text if you have any questions. Subscribe to my YouTube channel, like this video, and share it amongst your friends who are willing or who are planning to invest in Dubai, and we will definitely help them out. Thank you for your time. Have a good day.